everyone, how is it going? It's the Fuzz. So we're covering the order aspect this time. We got a couple cards here, some interesting choices. We're gonna get right to it, starting with Hermelion. So much like I did with the previous video, regarding this guy, we're gonna talk about, was he OP to warrant the nerf that he received? If you're not aware or not familiar, his ability, which now costs double order, only cost one order, one generic. And they changed it to double order so you couldn't play it with elves. Was that necessary? Was it such a powerful hero power that it was necessary? No, I honestly don't think it was overpowered. Yes, you could have some really powerful strikes when you got a couple creatures on the board, but you could easily compare this hero power to basic Neva, the one that gives everything swift. The comparison is this: with basic Neva, you can have a big board attack with no board from nothing, whereas with Hermelion, you can have two boards attacking if you only have one board. Seems fair to me. You have to be able to build up a board though first. So considering it costs 3 mana, whereas basic Neva costs 1 mana, I can't even imagine how this hero power could be thought as OP. Yes, if you put together like 10 damage, you have lethal with it, but I mean, elves can do like 10 damage from hand with no board, with just playing a bunch of like Grove Guardians and stuff. I think this is much more fair because you can see it coming. You know, they have to have the creatures on the board to be able to do it. So I think the nerf to Hermelion was unwarranted. Making him double order means you can only play him in a mono order deck. And I am not okay with that. I really think it should just be single order. Valorsworn Incarnate. One of the Incarnates that was collectively thought by the Ace Breakers to be one of the good ones. Yep. So the idea with this one is, if you play a mono order, he gets pretty good and he gets pretty big. Otherwise, he's not very good. So this guy can be really obnoxious because if you open with like 3 of them, and you just go aspect, you can have a bunch of beat sticks coming down really, really fast. And you can instill them, and then late game they are 4/4s and all that stuff. That being said, I do not think it's actually overpowered, because you can compare this to the Spoiled Aristocrat, which is a 3/1 for 1 mana, 1 aspect. Except you don't have to keep investing in aspects. You can just keep going up in mana and playing more Aristocrats and beating face even faster. And because this only works in a mono order deck, only mono order will ever be able to get any use out of him, I think it's strong but fair. Just like Consume Spirit is not overpowered for the same reason, because it's only really that strong for one specific mono aspect deck. So I think Valorsworn is okay. It's a little bit bland, but it's alright. Word of Grace. Everybody's favorite way to lose the game, by your opponent reaching 40 life. So Word of Grace heals a lot, draws a card. It is twice as good as like Word of Fire or Word of Pain, because it gets you to your win condition, you know, at double the speed. However, I do not find this card OP at all. It's just that the fact that the life win condition is kind of low at 40 life, I do think that's a little low. Cards like Word of Grace are kind of in a situation where they could create decks that try to win by healing, because Word of Grace can heal for a lot. In a mono order deck, it can heal 6-8 life easily, and you draw another card, and you combine it with some other life bound effects, and getting to 40 life is really not that hard. But what sucks about it is that you can't really stop your opponent gaining the life. Yes, you could try to hit them, but if they're protecting themselves, and order is good at protecting themselves, they can just, you know, kind of stall out a little bit, and they drop a Word of Grace and a second Word of Grace, and all of a sudden they win. It's the same issue as with the 1-turn heal deck. The card itself, I don't think is the issue. It's the condition itself. If we have to have it in the game, if we really, really have to have the life gain win condition, I think it should be higher than 40, probably at least 50. That would give the other player a little bit more time to try to counter it. Because I think 40 is too low. It's only 20 life you have to gain, and with Word of Grace being able to give you that much, hell, if you're at 5 aspect, you go halfway there in one card. And Antriel can give everything lifebound. And then there's Vampirism. So yeah, Word of Grace is fine. I like healing cards. I do think we need some ways to heal. To give aggro decks a run for their money a little bit without having to nerf them. A card like this works well. However, when you combine it with the life gain win condition, you have one turn heal. With a deck which I honestly wouldn't feel bad if it went away forever. Because it's kind of... I've once compared it to Solitaire, and I stand by that. Anyways, card is not overpowered. It's fine. We just need to address the life gain win condition, which I never liked in the first place, but make it like 50 or something. Cavalry Field Captain. Now we're moving to a slightly less balanced side of things. So Cavalry Field Captain is a card that has long been regarded to be quite good because, well, it's not very expensive. It's got a good body and, you know, ridiculous set of effects. It hasn't really been in the spotlight that much because order decks have never been that popular, but Cavalry Field Captain has been able to find his way into many different decks over the years. Elves have used them with Hermelian because it's just so ridiculous to be able to get your elves to be even more powerful and even more faster, that, yeah, it's just an amazing card in any deck that you could fit it. If this card was any aspect, it would probably be played. If it was a nature card, oh my goodness, it would be in every nature deck. If this was a Dominion card, every Dominion aggressive deck would run it. Making a 4/2 3-speed aristocrat does not sound like a good time to me. So the card is amazing, and I do think it actually is a little bit OP, but this is because of a combination of things. So first of all, that second effect, moving to the support line, I don't really know why it's there. It's kind of cool, but I feel like the idea was a little bit missed here, where I think maybe they intended this effect to work from the support, so the captain has the option to retreat and maybe buff a different creature. But instead, all it means is the captain is basically immune to attack if you have 1 mana open, which is pretty nice. Your opponent has to not attack it if they want to just get past it, and then you have the option to block with it or not. If they attack it directly, you can just pay the 1 mana and it goes back. Again, it doesn't come up much, but why is it even there? But it's the first effect, the +1 attack health and +1 speed, that's the real problem. Because Spellweaver uses the non-persistent damage model, that is to say, damage goes away on the creatures at the end of turn, buffs are incredibly powerful because they allow you to basically remove enemy creatures for free. You know, if you play a 3/3, your opponent plays a 3/3, and you play this, you kill his 3/3, and your creature is still at full health. So that's a tremendously powerful effect. And the extra speed is just... With this effect, you put this on any 2-drop, and it can kill basically any other 3-drop and some 4-drops and 3-drops that you attack. The only exception is the Assassin, who has Deadly, and the Temptress of the Seed, but otherwise, it's basically equivalent to a free kill when you play it on turn 3, and it's good at any other time. And you combine it with the fact that it's a Knight, it gives Namir synergy, oh my goodness, and the fact that it costs 2 mana means you can instill it. You have so many things working for this card. I think altogether, it is one of the best 3-drops in the game, one of just the best cards in the game, and one of the top order cards. And unfortunately, I think it's a little bit too much. What I would like to see this guy do is kind of like a more support-oriented card. You look at that second effect, some theme must have been thought up where they thought, okay, well, maybe he can retreat back to the support so he can do something. You can compare this guy to that new Shaman, who has the effect of giving a creature +1/+1, but he goes under the card, which is cool. But the captain stays on the board, so you're not only developing a new body, and a 2/2 with 3 speed is a pretty decent body as well, but you're probably getting a free kill on the board, so it's like a 2-creature swing. The Shaman, I think, is the way to go, where it's either a buff or a creature. So the Cavalry Field could work in a way where you can play it on the support row, and if you do, it buffs like one other creature, but only as long as he's on the support row. So you can choose to either put him on the support, or you can put him in the front as a fighter. You gotta take your pick. But doing both seems a little bit too good, so we'll see if this guy gets changed. Probably not. But yeah, like I said, I do think it's just a little bit too much going on for this guy. Next up, Spellwarden is quickly becoming my most salt-inducing card in the game by far. Oh my god. This little guy, he seems to have been forgotten for a while until the Angels re-emerged. And I don't really understand why, because it's an absurd card. First of all, he recently got buffed. He used to be a 1-2 that could attack. Now he's a 2-3, which means he doesn't light noxious fumes, for instance, and a word of fire has to be 3 aspect to kill him. Now, I don't care about any of that. What I care about is the effect, which is so much more powerful than it seems at first. So first of all, you get to look at your opponent's deck. You see all of his spells. If you look at somebody's deck and see all their spells, you can probably tell exactly what kind of a deck they're running, most of the time. Nice. Then, you get to cherry pick one of those spells. You yank it out of their deck so they have one less of those spells to play. Not only that, they can no longer play that spell. And here's the thing. The Spellwarden allows you to see what spells are in your opponent's hand. How does it do that? Because you see exactly how many copies of each spells are left. If you play this guy against Rage, and you see 4 Fire Blasts and 3 Fireballs, that means they have a Fireball in the hand. That's another piece of information you just gained. You know they have a Fireball. You know what other spells they got. If you block the Fireball, then they are going to have to top deck a Fire Blast or Ward of Fire or something to kill it. Several of these guys being played against you is one of the most annoying experiences you can have, because it's basically 3 of these guys sitting in the back row preventing you from playing any spells at all. And because Order is also the house of many powerful flying creatures called Angels, you basically are playing a game where you can't make any progress against them. Guardian stops all attacks. Antriel has massive lifebound, and then these guys prevent you from removing anything. Thankfully, they only hit spells and not artifacts, but my goodness. Perhaps the most annoying card about it is that it basically restricts counterplay. If you're anticipating, let's say, a powerful play from your opponent, like a Cavalry Field Captain, you save an Assassinate or a Tornado Outbreak or something to deal with it, a Spellwarden comes down and blocks that spell, completely screwing you. Because now your board gets wrecked, and the mana that you saved, now you can't use. So, I do think he's OP, but it's more in the form of, I take issue with the mechanic itself. I mean, the card itself is very powerful. It's played in Mono Order for a reason. It's almost the only reason that Mono Order can function, because cards like Cataclysm and Landslide can just crap all over them. But with this guy, no problem. Taken care of. But preventing your opponent from playing cards is one of the things I do not accept in card games. I've had enough flashbacks of that from Yu-Gi-Oh! Where cards like that were common, and oh my god, they were so frustrating. And this is essentially the same thing. I dislike Mind Extortion for essentially the same reason, but Spellwarden seems to go further than just Mind Extortion, because with Mind Extortion it's a 1-for-1 sort of, but with this guy, he, prevents counterplay, gives you some information about their hand, their deck, and is actually a good enough body to be on the front and block goblins and stuff. Oh my god. I actually think this guy is more ridiculous than Cavalry Field Captain in a lot of ways. Even though Cavalry Field is really, really obnoxious on turn 3 a lot of the time. But this guy, oh my god. It seems every time I lose to Angels, it's because of him. Because he blocked too many important spells and I just couldn't do anything. Because as it turns out, spells are the main form of removal in the game. So if you can't play them, you can't remove anything. The only exceptions being things like Helm of Dominion and, I don't know, Grappling Hook, I guess? You can kind of call that a removal card. So yeah, I just take issue with this card. It's been annoying me more and more with every single time I play against it. It may just be me, but ugh. Let me know if you guys feel the same way about this card, but oh my god. I haven't actually thought of how to rework it or anything, but if the idea is to give Order some protection, you can have him do that. But what you would want to do is, you play Spellwarden, pick a creature you have, and that creature is unaffected by spells, for instance, right? Like, not the same way as Namir's Blessing, where it can't be targeted. I mean unaffected, where it doesn't die to, like, Cataclysm or something, or it doesn't die to any spell. Or if it were to be killed by a spell, it would come back or something. Something like that you could use to protect your board, but without actually, telling your opponent, hey, you can't play spells anymore. That little guy. Cool art, by the way. Guardian of the Faithful, another notorious Order card for causing massive amount of salt, because you usually forget about the ability and you lose your entire board. Wait, what? It's just me? Oh my god. Okay, fine. Then I tend to lose my entire board because I forget about the ability. That being said, despite this card having an excellent body at 3/4, 3 speed and flying, and a ridiculous effect, I don't actually think it's overpowered. And this is because the effect is mandatory, which means you have a special way to get rid of this guy. You have to sack 3 creatures, yes. But it is forced, so if you have a bunch of garbage on the board, you can just send in garbage and the Guardian has to die. No choice. It used to be able to choose where you could sacrifice it and kill every attacker or not. And that was ridiculously stupid because, I mean, this card is already really, really powerful at stopping offense. When you could choose whether to sacrifice it, your opponent basically has to make very careful attacks. Okay, if he attacks with anything more than 3, he can't attack with too much or he loses everything. But then he has to attack with enough so you don't just let it through and get good blocks. So I think the card is very strong, but not overpowered. There's a difference. So I think it's fine. Although we probably don't want any more angels of this power level, because we don't want angels to be, that strong, do we? Or maybe we do. As long as they're cool. As long as the effects are cool, that's fine. So we're going to leave her alone. And the last card is Instill Life, aka the double reanimate on small creatures. One of my favorite cards in the game. I've often wondered why it wasn't seeing play back then and whether or not it will ever see play. And now the Mono Order deck is running 4 copies, and it's really a no-brainer. It's incredibly strong. Bringing back 2 things is tremendous value. And while you can only bring back creatures with cost 2 or less, there's very, very many powerful 2-costing creatures you can bring back, such as Cavalry Field Captain, Spellwarden, Valorsworn Incarnate, Namir! Oh my god, Namir. And then there's other cards like Necromantic Cult, and until he was changed, Ram Gak as well. So the reason this card is a little bit dangerous is because anything that's 2 mana or less that's really good could produce a new deck type with people just adding Order just to play Instill. But I think that's cool. So I don't think this card is OP. It's very good, but not overpowered. So long as the 2-cost cards don't get too insane. I mean, they're already about as strong as they could be with Necromantic Cult and Namir and I guess Bloodwell Matriarch to an extent, and the Treant, right? Those are the most powerful 3-aspect 2-mana cards we have. They probably shouldn't get any more powerful than that. I'm really glad that Elidor, the new legendary for Wisdom, wasn't made like a 3-aspect 2-mana card, because it would be absolutely ridiculous if you could instill it. So that's fine. But basically, whenever we see new cards revealed, we have to think, okay, can this work with Instill? Can we make this work as a deck? So, yeah, very good card. Not overpowered at the moment, but that could change. But I like the card. I like bringing back creatures from the graveyard because it means you have some options. And options are good. And with cards like this, unless you're playing a mill deck and you're milling yourself, your opponent can at least see what you might be able to bring back. And you have to take some time to set it up instead of just, oh, hey, I'm going to play something insane immediately. That said, instilling Cavalry Field and Namir together is pretty disgusting. Because you can not only gain some life, but give a creature potentially like a +3/+3 boost. You can have a 9/9 Antriel attacking with 3 speed. That's pretty good. But again, your opponent can anticipate it. So, I'm okay with Instill Life the way it is. For now. I hope it doesn't get broken, but nah, it's probably not. So that's it for the order aspect. A lot more cards than nature. Well, one more card. And really, the only cards with these that really annoy me is the Spell Warden. Cavalry Field, I think, should get a tune up a little bit, so it's not as devastating turn 3. But it's the Spell Warden that pisses me off, because I don't mind protection for angels. I mind not being able to play like a third of my deck. I have a problem with that, and it happens a lot when enough Spell Wardens get played. They can start yanking out important spells. It's really funny when you mess with one turn heal by taking away all their win conditions, but if that means messing with every other deck out there, I'd rather not. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's any cards that I missed. I wasn't going to cover any new cards, so I didn't even consider the Sunblessed Emissary, although I probably wouldn't even call it overpowered. And we'll see what comes. We only have Dominion and Rage left. So while we're all waiting for the expansion, because I notice a lot less people are playing, I think because everybody's just waiting for that big dump of cards to start experimenting. You don't really want to try creating new decks now when anything that you create could change and be completely different, because maybe there's better support for it, or maybe there's some better version that will come out with new cards. So until then, I don't know, 2 weeks maybe, however long it's gonna take. I'll see you guys in the next segment of this series, and stay awesome.